Bruchim Habayim, welcome. I'm Jeff from Ayelet Tours, and I'm here with our continuing series of discussions with the people that help make the memories last forever. Talking today with Jerusalem Post Chief Political Correspondent Gil Hoffman. Gil, how's the weather over there?
Well, in Jerusalem, it's beautiful. It's not too hot during the day, and then it gets cool at night.
You know, I used to ask people, how are you doing? But nowadays, it's not a great opening question. So, Gil, you're often called the most optimistic man in Israel. Any advice for staying optimistic?
Yes, Jeff, and that's to put more of a historical perspective. You know, I'm here in Jerusalem, where history is such a part of our life. We live our history here every day. And living here, we remember that we're part of something bigger. We're part of a history of the Jewish people that's had its share of challenging times that we have overcome. We have built into us as Jews the power to overcome challenges. There are a lot of other eras in life, in history, that we would not have liked to live in. And those eras have come and gone and made us stronger. And this will make us stronger too.
I was looking online before we started. You had a great headline today. I really enjoyed. It was Yesh Atid protests submarine affair with Zeppelin. Now, you know, before I looked at the picture, I'm thinking Led Zeppelin, but that's not what it was. And so I'm wondering, along the lines, you know, you're always writing these articles. They all have to have headlines. Have you ever come up with a clever headline that either you were allowed to use or not allowed to use?
So there was this very strange incident of a cabinet minister who had been convicted of bribery and was sentenced to jail time. And he kept on looking for excuses to leave jail, you know, marrying off his children just to get out of prison. And he's an ultra-Orthodox rabbi, and so he was tried to use various mitzvahs to get out. And there was a mitzvah of redeeming a donkey that he decided that he needed to get out of prison in order to redeem a donkey. And so...
You're saying donkey?
Yes, a real donkey, a real actual donkey.
Okay.
It's not a very common commandment fulfilled nowadays. But hey, if you're in prison, you want to get out. So, I remember trying to get into the paper about the minister tries to save his ass by leaving prison, and they did not let me.
Couldn't get it by, huh?
No.
So, how long have you been a journalist for?
As long as I can remember. No, since high school. I mean, in high school, I remember in my freshman year. I had volunteered for the very new school paper that Ida Crown Jewish Academy in Chicago put together. And I showed them very quickly that I already knew how to write. And so when a senator came to our high school, Senator Carol Moseley Braun, the first African-American senator of the United States, came to our high school, I got to interview him. And it's all been downhill from there.
So I picture you in high school with the, you know, like the hat with the...
Like Kermit the Frog?
Right, exactly, like Kermit the Frog, exactly. And so this was, were you just born with this innate curiosity? That's how you decided to become a journalist? Or where does it...
Well, it came from being in a house of Israelis living in Chicago who cared deeply about what was going on in Israel. I grew up watching Nightline in my crib. Maybe if I had watched cartoons like Kermit, I'd be healthier today, but I think it really prepared me for life, and I really owe it to my parents for that, to my late mother and to my father. He should live and be well. His birthday is tomorrow.
So Gil, you often speak to our Ayelet tour groups in Israel. Any question you hope the audience will not ask?
I can handle any question, but the people have to be clear on the concept, right? I am not a left-wing speaker or a right-wing speaker. My job is to convey what the Israeli government is doing and why, how the people of Israel think and why. And so that people try to trip me up, try to get an opinion out of me and ask the same question 6 different times to try to get, no, it's not going to work.
No questions completely out of left field, unrelated to what you're talking about. Somebody asks for you to validate their parking or anything like that?
Not quite that bad, though. I can tell you, I have a purple shirt that I like to wear. I think wearing more traditionally feminine colors softens the message. And I went to Northwestern, where purple is the color. And so one day I wore this purple shirt to a group at the Mamilla Hotel. And at the Mamilla Hotel, all staff wear purple shirts. And so, yeah, they were asking me, help me find my room, carry this for me, suitcase, take it now.
Yeah, double duty. If you ever wanted to experience what it was like to be a bellboy, you could just throw in purple, head over to the Mamilla. You're good.
Yeah.
If you want to feel more comfortable, I know you speak to a lot of groups. I always have a name badge around. I could wear this.
Thank you.
When you come to the States and you visit various communities, have you ever received an interesting parting gift as a thank you for coming?
Funny you should ask. I had a feeling that you would ask. So I have a collection of things that I've gotten from college campuses. You might have seen shirts that say the name of the university in America in Hebrew. I collect these. So I think the Harvard one is pretty popular, but I've gotten these now from about 60 universities that I've spoken at. So I just went into my closet and gathered a few to have some visual aid. So here we have Hopkins. Let's see, what do we have over here? Maybe this is Florida. Gators there. But I purposely took this one because this is the crowning achievement. Here we have, this says Shaloha, which is the synagogue in Honolulu, where I completed my quest of speaking in all 50 states.
Which is the one most likely to throw people off when you wear it, that they can't figure out what it's supposed to say in transliteration?
Quinnipiac.
That would be a hard one.
Quinnipiac has a lot of letters in both English and in Hebrew. In fact, it has letters that don't exist in Hebrew, and so they have like 6 letters to cover them, and yes, it's very long for sure.
You know, when Nixon went to China, he came back with 2 pandas back in '72. So.
I'd given 6 shirts for a panda.
So with more left-leaning progressive audiences, how do you address the popularity of our current United States president among the Israeli populace, where his approval rating is generally hovering somewhere around 70%?
Increasingly become more and more of a challenge, of course. First of all, I always have to emphasize the bipartisan nature of Israel and its relationship with the United States being bipartisan, being its top strategic asset. But I try to remind people that people in America until 11 years ago or so used to say, the candidate I voted for didn't win, but I hope he succeeds for the good of America. And while we haven't heard that in a very long time in America, I ask people to think, okay, so the candidate won who you would not have voted for, maybe even are completely disgusted, even ashamed of, but how about I hope he succeeds for the good of Israel? On Israel and only Israel.
Yeah.
And people, I think, are able to make that separation if they care about Israel's future.
During stay-at-home orders, a lot of people took the extra time to maybe pick up a new skill, learn a language. Did you take the extra time afforded by the order to learn anything new?
Jeff, I work from home anyway, and the Knesset, where I do have an office, has increasingly restricted our access. So they've made everything be online. I watched the Knesset plenum online meetings. I actually went into a meeting in the Knesset this week and got to ask a question that felt so strange. They're not letting us in the Knesset gym. They're not letting us in the cafeteria where that was only open to members of Knesset and the press. Now it's only members of Knesset. It's definitely become harder to do our jobs, but our work has not become any less. I have not had free time. What I've missed out on is the breakfast at the Inbal Hotel.
I'm partial to the Carlton breakfast over in Tel Aviv, but yeah, the
That
Inbal.
is indeed very impressive, yes.
So that clearly has made your job a little more difficult. You can't have these kind of casual interactions with members of Knesset to get information that you need. So that's the downside. Is there a plus side? Are there silver linings? For example, I know people talk about telemedicine. The adoption of telemedicine, it went from something that was maybe a 5-year horizon to right now because of the situation. Are there any similar silver linings that you're seeing in your line of work?
I've definitely saved a lot of time as a journalist on the campaign trail. I've covered 3 elections over the last year and a half, and during that time you spend a lot of time on the road, following around candidates and going to their political events. And now not having to do that, not having to waste as much time on the road is quite pleasant, to be honest. I've gotten to know my children even better, and I really like them. I'm going to keep them.
So what's the over-under on having another election in the next 12 months?
There are people who really think it's going to happen, who think that there's a clause in the coalition agreement between Netanyahu and Gantz that if they don't pass a state budget by the 31st of March, they automatically go to an election in June. And that might be convenient for Netanyahu, who's doing very well in the polls and doesn't have clear opposition right now. But I personally do not think so. In fact, I don't think so, because I talk to Netanyahu and Gantz's people regularly. And I noticed when I wrote an article about how it's not going to happen a few days ago, editors who do think it's going to happen kind of hid my article, both in print and online. But that doesn't make it not right.
Gil Hoffman, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate your partnership across all of these years. We always get amazing feedback from groups that get to hear and learn from you. Looking forward, may it be that we get to see each other in person sooner rather than later.
Definitely looking forward to having that breakfast with you at the Carlton Tel Aviv, Jeff.
All right, be well.